are useful. And, Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Chairman, call the Honourable Annette King.
Mr. Chairman, it's always a pleasure to follow the ex-Member of Parliament for the West Coast. He talked today about this bill being a building block, and I have to say to the member that you cannot build a strong house when you've got a few blocks missing. In fact, you're likely to have a weakened house. You're likely to have a house that's a bit suspect, and you're likely to have one that will collapse at some stage in the future when the pressure comes on, which is one of the reasons why Labor will not support this bill from this point on. We did support it to the Select Committee. We, of course, were in broad agreement with the direction of the Building Act review because, after all, the Building Act review took place under a previous Labor government. We put out a discussion document titled Proposal for Owner-Builder Exemption to the Restricted Building Work Regime. It was released in June 2008. We had submissions. It was closed in August 2008. And I think a lot of this work was actually done by Clayton Cosgrove and Shane Jones in their time. They know a lot about it. But what we are worried about is that this bill, as it comes back, is not a comprehensive bill. It is a piecemeal, higgledy-piggledy bill. It's certainly got some elements in it that we would support, but it is not what was expected when the review took place. And, you know, I often think of something that my mother used to say to me: if you're going to do something, do it right first time. And, Minister, I know how much you do care about getting things right in the building industry. I've dealt with you over leaky buildings, Mr. Chairman. I have dealt with the Minister over leaky buildings, and I know in conversations we had about my own constituents that the Minister was really keen to get it right in terms of trying to fix a problem that arose from the 1990s where we didn't get it right in terms of the building code. And I commend the Minister for that, for making a genuine effort to get it right. But having learnt our lessons from that time, why not have a comprehensive bill that covers the issues that came out of that review rather than take parts of it? And of course it was from the submissions that my colleagues became very concerned that there was we weren't taking the right approach. And I follow on from Phil Twyford, who said that what we really do want is to ensure that we have safe and healthy houses, and we do not unnecessarily put consumers at risk again. We also think it is unwise, Minister, and risky at this time to have a piecemeal piece of legislation and measures when the industry is facing a surge in demand from the rebuilding of Christchurch and the repair of leaky buildings and the huge skills deficit that we have and the uncertainty as to whether there will be sufficient builders even entering the new building scheme. And I'm sure, Minister, like me, you read the briefing to the incoming government from the Construction Development Alliance. And there was something that stood out to me in that briefing to the government. It said, since the peak of the property boom, there is as many as 25,000 jobs have been lost in construction, with over 750 of the sector's workers leaving New Zealand for Australia and other countries in March 2011 year alone. And there are strong fears that the sector is going to struggle to meet the construction of Canterbury alone. And so we believe it is risky at this stage and unwise to legislate in this piecemeal way. So, Minister, we're saying re-look at it, send it back as the submissioners said, withdraw the bill, bring it back to the House with a comprehensive package of reforms. Now, I know the Minister will be reluctant to do that, but he does want to make progress. And of course, I think many members in this House would want to make progress on this very important area. But, Minister, get it right. Do it once, do it well, ensure that we get the best piece of legislation possible, because by doing that, we will not go through the errors that we made in the past with such legislation. We won't leave big loopholes and problems for the future. So I think it's fair to say that no one in this House wants to put consumers at risk. that we do want the best possible legislation. As I said, do it once, do it right. If it's worth doing, get it right.
I call the Honourable Member Holly Walker.